जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे बोलो
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
राधे राधे श्री राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे राधा मेरी स्वामी मेरा राधा जन्म जन्म मोहि दीजिए श्री वृंदावन जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे
कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे
माधव पुण्य बिहारी जय राधा माधव पुण्य बिहारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीर बनचारी यमुना तीर बनचारी जय राधा माधव पुण्य बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiro Vanachari Yamuna Tiro Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunyabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunyabihari Jaya Paramang Samparibrajacharya Sakari Smala Dham Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Jaya Nanda Gori Vaishnava Jaya Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Jaya Names of the whole Sri Krishna Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Kanda Radha Kanda Giriyo Jaya Vrindavan Dham Ki Jaya Navadip Dham Ki Jaya Ganga Mai Ki Jaya Jamuna Mai Ki Jaya Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jaya Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jaya All glories to the All glories to the Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome. Jagannath, good background.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. Our glories to His confounder Charles Srila Prabhupada. Our glories to Guruji and Gulanga. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay, we got a very small group so far.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, we are expecting devotees to come in. They'll be joining. Kiran Shakti Prabhu is also sending his followers.
Yeah, because his followers in Europe, it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. So many of them will come in.
It's morning. The same as you. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. All right.
So thank you very much, Maharaj, for coming to the class. Dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today is the 8th of the month of July 2024. So we are fortunate to have His Holiness Kavicandra Swami Maharaj with us, who is going to be speaking to us from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we're discussing from the third canto, first chapter, text number 21. So Maharaj, once again, you're welcome. If you are ready, we'll put the verse on the screen.
You know, today is Rath Yatra Day in Puri, all over India. Hundreds of Rath Yatras are going on in temples. So it's auspicious. Okay, Tatarta.
Tetasa.
There. Sushrava.
Sushrava.
Surit.
Surit.
Ganashtim.
Nashim.
Vanam. Vanam. Yata.
Yata.
Venuja.
Venuja.
Vani. Samshaya.
Vani Samskaya.
Samspardaya.
Samspardaya.
Dugdam.
Dugam.
Atanu Shocham.
Atanu Socham.
Sarasvatim.
Sarasvatim,
Pratyag,
Pratyam,
Chaya,
Chaya,
Tusnim,
Tusnim,
Trata, Susrava, Surid, Vinastim,
Tatrata, Susrava, Surit, Vinastim,
Vanam Yata, Venuja, Vanu, Samshayam,
Vanam Yata, Venuja, Vani, Samsrayam,
Samspardaya, Dugdam, Atanusocham,
Sanspadhaya, Dakdams, Atanusocham,
Saraswatim Pratyag Tvaya Tushnim,
Sarasvatim, Pratyak, Yayastostim,
Tatratisu Shrava Surit Janastim,
Tatrata, Susrava, Surit, Vinastim,
Vanam Yata Venuja Veni Samshrayam,
Vanam Yata, Venuja, Vani, Samsrayam,
Samspardaya Dugdam Atanusochan,
Sanspadaya, Dugdam, Atanusocham,
Saraswatim Pratyag Tvaya Tushnim,
Sarasvatim, Pratyak, Ijayatosnim, Tatrasta, Susrava, Surit, Vinastim,
Tatratisu Shrava Surit Vinastim,
Vanam Yata, Venuja, Vani, Samsrayam,
Venam Yata Venujad Ani Sashrayam,
Sanspadaya, Dakdam, Antanusocham,
Samspardaya Duktam Atano Sochan,
Sarasvatim, Pratyak, Ijayatostim,
Saraswatim Pratyag Tvaya Tushnim, Tatra,
Tatra,
there,
there,
Atta,
Ata,
thereafter,
thereafter,
Sushrava,
Shusrava,
heard,
heard,
Surit,
Surit,
kinsmen,
kinsman,
Vanastim,
Vinastim,
all dead,
all dead,
Vanam,
Panam,
forest,
forest,
Yata,
Yata,
as
much as,
Venujavani,
Venujavani,
fire due to the bamboos,
fire due to the bamboos,
Samshayam,
Tamsrayam,
friction with one another,
friction with one another,
Samspardaya,
Sansparadaya,
by violent passion,
by violent passion,
Dugdam,
Dugdam,
burnt,
burnt,
Atta,
Ata,
thus,
thus,
Anasocham,
Anusochan,
grieving,
grieving,
Saraswatim,
Sarasvatim,
the river, Saraswati,
the river Sarasvati,
Pratyak,
Pratyak,
westward,
westward,
Vaya,
Yaya,
went,
went,
Tushnim,
Tusnim,
silently.
silently.
At the place of pilgrimage of Prabhas, it came to his knowledge that all his relatives had died due to violent passion, just as an entire forest burns due to fire produced by the friction of bamboos. After this, he proceeded to where the river Saraswati flows west. Purport: both the Kauravas and the Yadavas were relatives of Vidura, and Vidura heard of their extinction due to fratricidal war. The comparison of the friction of bamboos of forest to that of passionate human behavior is appropriate. The whole world is compared to a forest. At any moment, there may be a flare-up in the forest fire in the forest due to the friction. No one goes to the forest to set it on fire, but due only to friction between bamboos, fire takes place and burns the entire forest. Similarly, in the greater forest of the worldly transaction of fire, of war takes place because of the violent passion of the conditioned souls, illusioned by the external energy. Such a worldly fire can be extinguished only by the water of the mercy cloud of the saints, just as a forest fire can be extinguished only by rain falling from a cloud. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschachade Satarane. Vanchakalpa Turvischa Kripa Sindhuge Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha. All right, so we see all over the world this kind of friction is going on in human beings. Wars, family fighting, friends fighting. So it's explained here that forest fires can start just by the wind rubbing the trees together, and somehow a spark will come out. It'd have to be a very dry forest, but it's mentioned many times, so it must be possible. Now, I don't know how much, hopefully devotees, it depends on where you live, what kind of news you're seeing, but this war in the Ukraine and Russia, that's still going on full steam. And, people take sides, creates more and more dissension, even amongst devotees from those different countries. Now Israel lining up maybe to start another on the other side of the country. Before they get invaded, they're already getting missiles shot at them. And there's so many other wars all over the world that we don't hear about so much in the mainstream news, and big and small wars. So Kunti Devi also mentions that the dissensions among human beings is just, they come together and rub against each other and something happens. So that's why we have to be careful to in our communities, to be careful not to cause friction and not to get caught up if something, rubs us the wrong way, not to reciprocate, not to immediately get, want reciprocation. So here's what Kunti says. She says, my dear Lord, I consider your lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living entities are due to social intercourse. Social intercourse. Dissensions, everybody knows, I guess, what that means. Quarrels, trouble. And we, we have our different ideas in some country where they have different colors of people, then they fight because of the colors. They fight because of the religion. They fight because of language. They fight because of tribal, so many different things. Humans especially. Animals amongst their own species, they don't fight so much except the male to dominate. In some types of animals, there's one male that gets all the girls. So he has to fight the other ones to prove his power and keep his position. But normally they get along, they help each other. But they fight with other animals from different colors, a different type of bird, a different bug, or a different type of, whatever it is. So we have to be very careful to keep Krishna in the center and understand we're all part and parcel of Krishna. We're all one big family. Here, the history of this, what they're talking about, Krishna's family, all fighting with each other and all killing each other. If we have new people that tune in, then you might not, know the history, but this was the Pandavas and the Kurus are fighting. They were one family, cousins, but they wanted the one group wanted to usurp the kingdom from the rightful heirs. And that ended up being the war. That war had many purposes. It was Krishna's arrangement to eliminate all the demons on the planet. But so after that battle, Dhritarashtra, who was the father of the bad guys, we might say, he took all the women to the battlefield so they could do some last rites for their husbands and sons and fathers and all the men that were killed. So Gandhari was his wife. She was a senior queen. And Krishna was there. And Gandhari was so mad at Krishna. He said, Krishna, you're the supreme person, God. You're the supreme controller. And you could have prevented this. And Krishna smiled and he said, I couldn't do anything. It was their karma. Gives you some kind of understanding of how powerful karma is. So she cursed Krishna that after some years, his family would fight amongst themselves and all get killed. And Krishna said, thank you, which is mysterious. because his family, the Yadu dynasty, they were very, very powerful. And he was thinking that after he left the planet, they would become proud, people would honor them because they're Krishna's family, and they might go off and not behave properly. So he was thinking, how can I get rid of them, because no one could defeat them, no other military force, no kingdom. So he thanked her. So after 30 years or whatever it was by Krishna's arrangement, they went for like a pilgrimage to this place called Prabhas, and they started drinking wine, rice wine, called sake in Japan. And they started insulting each other and criticizing each other, and they started fighting, and they killed each other. And Krishna joined in, and Balaram. So they were all killed. And then Krishna, right soon after that, Balaram left, and then Krishna left. So that's the history of that. So Kunti is describing, she knew that Krishna was not just an ordinary family member. She knew he's the Supreme Lord. But she's still praying to him as a Supreme Lord. So she says, I see him, he's eternal time. Time is the most powerful force in this world. It's Krishna. Inconceivable power. No one can stop time. No matter how much money we have, no matter how big of a fort, how big of an army, we think we're invulnerable. I heard one of the previous American presidents, he was saying we're the most powerful. We spend more on defense than the next 8 countries combined. That's America. That means they're so fearful. They're so afraid of being attacked that they're cutting back education, cutting back everything, just to build up more and more weapons to so-called defend themselves, but they just attack. They figure that to defend themselves is to attack whatever they consider to be an enemy before the enemy has a chance to attack them. So it's a crazy world. So forest fires, there's lots of fires that sometimes they can find out somebody was smoking or made a campfire, or lightning struck or something. Sometimes they can't figure out why it started. Many dissensions between human beings, like husband and wife, they're fighting and nobody really knows why. I knew some families, the husband and wife, they were long time married and they found themselves fighting all the time and they couldn't understand why. And then they were found out that somebody had put a curse that they would fight and try to break up the family. Some envious relative or somebody. These things are going on. So in the world, human beings come together, and that social intercourse creates trouble. Sometimes riots break out, so we have to, in our communities, and then we want to make it that we're very Krishna conscious. We're aware that Krishna's in everyone's heart, and Krishna's arranged that we'll be together, so we shouldn't get too upset. Why do I have to be with this person? It's to teach us something. Krishna's arranged it. It's not ours, not theirs. It's all Krishna's arrangement. So even Krishna's own family, but in this case, it was Krishna's arrangement. The cat battle of Kurukshetra, and there were too many demons on the planet, too many, dictator type bad militaries. So Krishna arranged for them all come together and kill each other to make way for Kali Yuga, where there wouldn't be so many such powerful people. So now, today's Rath Yatra, yesterday was the Gundicha Marjana. So, I was hearing a lot of classes about Lord Jagannath and Gundicha Marjana, and I thought I'd just talk about that a little bit more than all this quarreling. Jagannath Rath Yatra is a very ancient festival. Because in Puri, I guess it was everywhere. Now in Puri, it's only Hindus can go in the temple. They don't consider whether they're Sudras or Brahmins, just so they're Hindu, whatever that is. Sometimes other people get in. If the guards catch them, they beat them up. So at that time, sometime, after the temple was started, I don't know, that was a long time ago, the original temple. Jagannath is inside. Only Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas, the Sudras and lower, they weren't allowed to enter the temple. And I guess, people knew pretty well who's who in those days. Not like now, it's so mixed up, everybody's a mix-up. But there were many Sudra devotees, very good devotees, and they wanted to see the Lord, but they're not allowed in the temple. So Lord Jagannath, by dream, the big pujari, he informed him that he wanted to have this, parade. And they built the carts and they started taking Lord Jagannath out. It's like everybody likes to go out, The king likes to go out, ride in his car, and go around and see what's going on in his kingdom, and let everybody see him. People get excited to see the king. Nowadays, they get excited to see even a sports star or a movie star. They fight, start riots to take a picture or something. So Jagannath went out, and he's been doing that ever since. Now in Jagannath Puri today, there's at least, 25 lakhs, they say? 25 times 100,000 people in the road. So not that many can get really close to the cart or to the deity, but many do. And he takes a long ride, and he goes to Gundicha, which is Vrindavan. So the idea of it is, when Krishna went to Kurukshetra for that eclipse from Dwarka, and then the Vrajbasis were there, and they didn't like seeing Krishna dressed as a king and surrounded by, armies and wives and, all kinds of opulence. They didn't like that. They wanted him to come back to Vrindavan. So the Rath Yatra really means that pulling Krishna back to Vrindavan. And someone was saying it means pulling Krishna into your heart. So it's a very, somebody asked me the day he was there, he said, it didn't look like anybody was actually pulling the rope. The cart was just moving along by itself. He asked me if that's true. It could be also that when the rope is so long, so there's many hundreds of people pulling, so nobody has to pull very hard. Everybody just barely pulls it and it'll move the heavy cart. And it's a little bit downhill, so once it gets moving, it's not like ball bearing wheels or anything. It's not going to take off, but they have to sometimes throw big logs in front of the wheel to slow it down or turn it. So that's the story. Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, and devotees are able to pull him along. It's very auspicious to just pull the rope, touch the rope, and see the Jagannath cart. So Prabhupada introduced Jagannath Rath Yatra all over the world. It's a very amazing thing. So even in Africa, I just had one a few days ago, I think, in Accra. And South Africa has one of the biggest ones as far as attendance outside of India. And I think the biggest. But they have them all over the place, big and small, inside the house. I was in Dubai and some devotees, they lived in a big apartment building and they had a little Rath Yatra cart and they just went up and down the hallway with a lot of devotees chanting and pulling Jagannath back and forth along the highway. Sometimes they have it right in their house only and just go around. You know, it's just so popular. So, but yesterday, that's what I really like to talk about is the Gundicha Marjana. Gundicha is the place where Lord Jagannath goes and stays for 9 days. It's not exactly a temple because it's not used the rest of the year. It's just, but it indicates Vrindavan, it stands for Vrindavan. And Lord Jagannath goes to Vrindavan and he stays there. So after being there for 1 year, it's very dirty, dusty. So Lord Chaitanya, he took all the devotees, he requested the king to provide, you know, water pots and brooms for everybody. And all the devotees went with him. And Lord Chaitanya led the way to clean the temple. He swept it very thoroughly, first with a rough broom, stiff broom, and swept everything outside. Then with a fine broom, they went over the whole place again to get all the really small particles of dust and dirt. And now the thing is, this is all compared to cleaning the heart. I don't know if we say this still. They always used to say cleaning the temple is cleaning your heart. You know, cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the drains. It's all cleaning your heart. And we should understand the heart is so dirty, full of anger, lust, greed, and all kinds of, you know, impure ambitions and desires. So this cleaning the temple helps us to clean the heart. So Lord Chaitanya was trying to make the Gundicha very nice. It's a beautiful, shining, clean place for the Lord to come and happily sit there. Just like we want to clean our heart and get rid of the desires of Pachista and the want to be God and want this and want that. So then they brought water. They had hundreds of water pots, and there's a lake nearby, Narendra Sarovara. That's a pastime lake, actually. They have a boat festival, and all the devotees play in the water and have a really good time. So devotees were, you know, going, filling up pots, bringing it, and other devotees are running back with empty pots. So they start out by washing the ceiling, throwing the water. It's all stone. It's an advantage of the old buildings. They're all made out of stone. You don't have to worry about paint and, you know, all kinds of things. You can throw water all over the place. So they throw water all over the ceiling, then it runs down and cleans the walls and gets on the floor. Then they sweep it outside into the drains. Now, when they were sweeping the dirt and dust and all the straws and all the things that are in there, everybody made a pile of what they swept. Lord Chaitanya went around, and if he saw somebody had a lot, he would say, very good. But then he'd say, why aren't you teaching the others to do like you're doing? And if someone didn't have so much, he would kind of chastise them. And Lord Chaitanya himself was sweeping, and his pile was bigger than everyone else's combined. And he was leading by example. So naturally, everybody wanted to help him. They were inspired to see him actually sweeping. And then when the water, they were throwing water, Lord Chaitanya went on the altar, and he not only threw water, but he washed, he rubbed it with his own cloth. And while he was doing that, one Bengali, they were probably all Bengalis, but he was pouring water on Lord Chaitanya's feet and then drinking the water. So when Lord Chaitanya saw that, he got angry, but he didn't chastise the devotee. He told Swarup Damodar, look what your Bengali Vaishnava has done. It's a very offense to wash your feet in the temple. What to speak of someone drinking the water from my feet? It's no good. Throw him out. So they sent that devotee out. So anyway, they got the temple completely clean and ready for Lord Jagannath to come the next day. They also cleaned the next to that. There's the Shringa temple, and they cleaned that. So it's a ecstatic pastime, showing cooperation, devotees all working together. They weren't talking; they were just chanting. If anybody needed water, they said Hare Krishna. If they needed a broom, they'd say Hare Krishna. Whatever they wanted, everybody just said Hare Krishna, but everybody could understand. And even they couldn't get enough water from the lake. There was some well nearby, and they were getting water from the well. And they got everything super clean. So we want to clean the heart. We want to clean our temples like that. But we want to clean our hearts. And then in that Leela, there's a thorough description of the different contamination in the heart, which is a very important thing to think about. The kind of impure desires that we have, and how they develop. But they can be cleaned by the process of bhakti yoga.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I'm just looking up contaminations, because it's an interesting thing. And I don't remember the exact names, Pratishta. Pratishta means reputation. We want to get a good reputation. So if we're doing devotional service, because we want a good reputation, it's not good. We want to become a famous devotee, gradually we want to become the Supreme Lord. All these things. So, but they all be cleansed. The creeper devotion has to be very carefully protected. Then we can make great spiritual advancement. The process of bhakti yoga works. Devotees ask a lot, how can we get free from this? How can we get free from it? The process works. But we have to apply it very enthusiastically. So We celebrate Rath Yatra. When is the Africa Rath Yatra coming up this time?
Yes, there is no specific date yet. For Nigeria, there is a planning to have one in Warri Temple, but look, the place has been agreed upon, but there's no date yet. Maybe within this week, there will be an agreement on the date. The West African Regional Rath Yatra was supposed to have been yesterday, no, Saturday, on Tuesdays, 2 days ago. But it was, I think there is a lack of communication, so it could not be done. But Ghana had some Rath Yatra on Saturday, I think is the Hindu Samaj people normally have every year. So they had that.
They have
But the regional,
the Oriya people. And
yeah. So there's no date yet for the region and the other countries.
Anyway, we're worshiping Lord Jagannath in most of our temples.
Mm.
And so it's always Rath Yatra. But just cleaning the heart, this is a never-ending process, because just like the temple, especially in India, but like I have a room in Vrindavan, and when I come back, no matter how much I close the windows, there's so much dust. One time a window was open a little bit and there was about an inch of dust. It took the maids like hours to clean it. But so we're always, dirty things are passing by our senses constantly. So we have to constantly be cleaning and protecting the creeper of devotion, from attacks of Maya, and constantly cleaning by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
So if we have any questions, I'll try to entertain them.
Okay, Maharaj, dear devotees, if anyone has a question, please kindly indicate by using emoji or physically show your hands. And
Kumara, I have one question. The issue of Vidura and the Kuravas, Yandavas. My question is it not Krishna that arranges for them to kill themselves and fight? Also, when devotees fight among themselves, is it not also Krishna's arrangement?
Well, we're not on that level. That we're not, all those Kauravas, they were all like demigods, and everybody that came as part of Krishna's Leela, and they were acting in different ways to show us something. So, but we're under the modes of nature. So when we're quarreling, it's generally, it's a combination of passion and ignorance.
Because sometimes the conflicts among devotees, some people think it didn't just start today. Even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see devotees fighting, having conflict. So people try to give excuse why they are fighting among each other.
Yeah, sometimes we don't know because it's ignorance. Ignorance. We're suffering.
Okay.
All right, I have a question. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam has already predicted that in this age, people will be very quarrelsome. And after time Mahaprabhu spoke about that, in the course of your lecture, you gave a kind of a scenario and a story, particularly about even within husband and wife, that sometimes there could be misunderstanding. And you gave an example of one particular family where the husband and wife continuously fight. and it was later discovered that it was as a result of a curse placed upon them. So my question is that within the devotee community also, sometimes we see this kind of a thing happen. And how do we understand it? Because in follow-up of Kausa's question, we cannot put ourselves in the pastimes of the Lord. But when we see in a devotee relationship at our level of sadhana bhaktas, or even in husband and wife's family, we have several Grihastha devotees who, husband and wife, they've been together for quite some time and they consistently fight. Can such a cause create or sustain a fight among those who are striving on the path of devotional service? Or could it be something beyond a cause? Because if a devotee is on the path of devotional service, it's expected to be under the shelter of Krishna. But if we see that happening in the life of a devotee, could it be as a result of a cause, karma, or could we say that maybe Krishna is giving the devotee what they need to get so that they can become detached? How do we understand it, Maharaj?
Yeah, well, we can't understand fully, but could be any of those things. Could be a combination of those things. And generally our quarrels, it's just because we're immature. We both of us want to be the right. I am right, you were wrong. We're very caught up in that mistake, I'm right, you're wrong. I want to be the winner. So that'll create quarrels. It could be external, sometimes maybe not even a curse, but there's other devotee that's fomenting dissent, doing things that cause devotees to fight, spreading false rumors, all kinds of things because of the mode of passion and ignorance. And we have to work towards trying to live in the mode of goodness, because we're in the material world, and how to be in the mode of goodness and see Krishna in everyone's heart and have love for each other, love centered around Krishna, always trying to help each other to serve Krishna instead of trying to help myself to be right and everybody else is wrong. This is a big problem we have. And that's in the material world too, and people know that, and they have so many seminars, trying to help us to live properly,
Thank you, Maharaj.
So, we were reading the other day about Krishna's Vrindavan Leelas. So, Bhakti Vinod said how different demons in Krishna Leela especially represent different bad qualities, greed or lust or, deceit, like Putana. And the forest fire, Krishna ate 2 forest fires, So one of them, it says, it represents dissension between interfaith within the same group, even dissension. These things go on, because somebody wants to be right. Somebody thinks they have the perfect understanding of the scripture and everyone else is wrong, or I have a position, therefore everybody has to jump. I have a title, so even I think I was in Hyderabad, somewhere in India. I was walking around and there was a mediation place. I think it was a government office, but it was specifically for intra-religious, like quarreling within the religious group, the same religion. It was specifically for mediating with those people. So it's not only us, it's Kali Yuga, and Kali means quarrel, and he's always trying to cause quarrel. So, we don't have to think so much, just understand it's Kali. How do we push back Kali, who knows? What is the only way to smash Kali? What makes him run?
Thank you, Maharaj.
What makes Kali run away? Huh?
The chanting of the holy name.
That's right. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Vikepa. Kaluna Steva, Nasteva, Nasteva. Gatir Anyata. Very simple. It's the only way. The Kali
But
will not.
unfortunately, Maharaj, the attraction for chanting the holy name is not there. So what do you do in the community? You're trying to chant. You're trying your best to chant, but others are not chanting. And as a result, you get so much of troubles every other time. So what can you do to help the community where you, to help them to be able to develop attraction for chanting? I'm talking in the devotee community. For those who are non-devotees, it's easier, but you have to live with devotees, aspiring devotees I'm talking about. So in such a community where you are, and then you have devotees are not chanting, and you're seeing it, but and you cannot correct them because they don't want to listen. So what can be done to help those who are on the path of devotional service who are developing lethargy or laziness to chant? How do you help such devotees?
Well, I think we need a lot of festivals.
Mm.
And where, because if there's kirtan festivals, kirtan mela, festivals where, it's not like you're pointing out to some person, why aren't you chanting or something? I am chanting, but none of us are chanting perfectly. But if we have festivals, and especially if we can get devotees out, on Harinam outside chanting, it helps to get a taste to understand, where that we want to get out of the material world. It's unfortunate that people come and, sometimes they just want a place to live and they somehow eat and sleep and not really seriously trying to make spiritual advancement. It's unfortunate, but festivals, people join in, Rath Yatra, any kind of festival, kirtan mela, people will hang around, they'll hear the kirtan, they'll get something. And I'm saying that, we need to make more festivals. So that's a responsibility of the leaders. You can't just, go around telling people, why aren't you chanting? Unfortunately, that, if we're not chanting, we're not going to be very happy. We're not be able to enjoy, we're going to always feel bad. But we have to somehow encourage everybody. But the more there's kirtan and people around, they don't have to do anything particularly, but they'll hear the kirtan and that will help them. So I'm just reading a little bit from this Klini Nagundicha purport. The material desire is explained as a desire to enjoy the material world to its fullest extent. In modern language, this is called economic development. An inordinate desire for economic development is considered to be like straws and grains of sand within the heart. If one is overtly engaged in material activity, the heart will remain disturbed. Endeavor for material opulence is against the principles of devotional service. Material enjoyment includes activities as great sacrifices for auspicious charity, austerity, elevation to heavenly planets, and even living happily within the material world. Modernized material benefits are like the dust of material contamination. When the dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activity, it overcomes the heart. The mirror is covered with dust. There are many desires to perform auspicious and inauspicious activities. But people do not know how life after life they're keeping their hearts unclean. One who cannot give up the desire for fruitive activity is understood to be covered by the dust of material contamination. Karmis think you can counteract by another karma, but it doesn't work. Impersonal speculation, monism, speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and meditation are all compared to grains of sand. They simply cause irritation to the heart. No one can satisfy the Lord by such activities. We have to give him a chance to sit peacefully in our hearts. When sometimes yogis and gyanis take to the chanting of the heart, this is kind of dealing with your question, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra as a way to begin their various practices. But when they falsely think that they have attained release from the bondage of material existence, they give up chanting. They do not consider that the ultimate goal is the form of the Lord or the name of the Lord. The Lord Chaitanya cleaned every little dust and grains of sand out from the temple. So then Bhaktisiddhanta said, sometimes we may give up the desire for fruitive activity. The subtle desire for fruitive activity comes within the heart, and we want to do business to improve our devotional activity. But the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, described as kuti nati, fault finding, and pratishtasha, desire for name and fame, for high position, jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, and nishidachara, accepting things forbidden, kama, desire for material gain, and puja, hankering for popularity. The word kuti nati means duplicity. As an example of pratishta, one may attempt to imitate Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place, but the real desire might be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. Jiva himsa actually means stopping the preaching. This is a very serious sentence here. Everybody listen carefully. The word jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as aropakara, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromises with non-devotee. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic. But all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the regulated principles and not desire illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication are meat. So that's, and then even all the dirty things may be clean. Sometimes subtle desires remain for impersonalism, success, and the four principles of religious activity are like spots on the cloth. So Lord Chaitanya taught us how to clean the heart. So if someone is not chanting, generally it indicates offense. They don't have a taste for the holy name because probably they're offending devotees and they really don't belong in the community. But, you know, if they're not right in the ashram, there's not much we can do except have festivals and hope they'll attend and have nice prasadam to give people somehow or other and pray. And, you know, and try to find more people who are interested and want to participate and work with them. Okay?
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Great.
Nidanam Prabhu, please kindly unmute and ask a question.
Wow, this is a small.
Yeah. I wish Maharaj Dandavat pronounced.
Yeah.
Krishna. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj, for your wonderful lecture. So, Maharaj, my question is, His Holiness Bhakti Dira Damodara Swami said, the business of a devotee is to reduce the anxiety of the others and not to increase it. And the same people that we have to reduce the anxiety are the same people who choke the system. Thereby, trying to penetrate is very difficult. So, what actually can we do to reduce this anxiety? Because no matter how hard we try, we're in the age of Kali, whereby even the saintly, they don't have a say. No matter what they say, it's like it's not going far. So what actually can we do to release them from this anxiety that His Holiness Bhakti Damodara Swami is saying? Hare Krishna.
What anxiety is he saying?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj?
Yeah, you
What-
spoke right in the beginning that Bhakti Dear Damodar says something.
What I'm saying, yeah, he said the business of a devotee is to reduce the anxiety of others and not to increase it. And I'm saying that these same people that we have to reduce their anxiety are the same people who choke the system, whereby penetrating is very hard. So what then can we do to release them from
Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare
this
Nama.
anxiety that His Holiness Bhakti
Hare Nama,
Damodara
Hare
is talking
Nama,
about?
Bikalam. Spread the holy name. Give them books. Take time if they're willing. Find people that, you know, their anxiety is that they think they're their body. We have to educate them, give them a higher taste. It all begins and ends, and in the middle it's the holy name. We have to spread the chanting more and more, have more festivals, more outside chanting, more everything. And also the books, you know, have more Bhagavad Gita classes and let people, you know, get into the nectar and read the Bhagavad Gita and hear about Krishna and understand they're not the body. It's anxiety and convert the anxiety. The devotee has anxiety too, how to help people, how to do more service, how to do better service, you know, how to help clean the temple better, how to dress the deities more beautiful. It's also anxiety, but it's spiritual anxiety. So we have to convert people's anxiety to spiritual anxiety by informing them and giving them a chance to do devotional service. Beginning with chanting the holy name and ending with chanting the holy name. And in the middle is chanting the holy name. Thank you. That's what the Sankirtan movement is about, is elevating the atmosphere and helping people to understand they're not the body, so they're not in so much fear of death, and their desires can change to be spiritual desires. All right.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Anyone else have a comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Who's Hare Krishna Africa? Is anybody?
Do you have any question? Yeah, outside.
It's Kusia.
Kusa,
Yes,
thank you
Maharaj.
for that GoFundMe. You know, you made a GoFundMe for the Sierra Leone, for the Cote d'Ivoire temple. and it
Ivory
worked,
Coast. Mm-hmm.
but when you make it for the vans, it's really boring. It doesn't inspire anyone. We tried before. They almost got nothing. I asked Anna to write something and send it to you. And have to make it, you know, and show some pictures of the devotees and how that, you know,
I told Tribhuvanat to send me pictures of devotees on Harinam and Sankirtan. He has not done so.
lots of pictures online, you know, on Facebook. Just, I don't know, Yadunath and different devotees put them up all the time.
I told them to send. They have not sent.
You can just find them on Facebook and download it, you know, and copy.
Mm-hmm.
From Lagos, they come a lot. Forget the devotee's name. He puts up lots of pictures. Yadunath sometimes puts up many. All right. It's important, you know, now we just got in Lagos many books from Bali, you know, at Bali's house, there were so many books. So we finally got those. So now we have more books and more devotees are getting a little bit inspired to distribute. Yadunath has a big party of young people. And they're enthusiastic to do Harinam and distribute books. And we have to help them. At least we got those books because the books were running out, but now they got a lot of books, really a lot. They're not even all there yet. All right.
The secret of GoFundMe, as the link is created, the devotees should share to the people they are preaching to, the communities they preach to. They can make donations. But when I send the link, they don't want to participate to spread the link to raise the fund. So how do they spread the money to come? They have to get involved. They are preachers. They have contacts.
You have to write a more interesting, you know, proposal. Anyway, don't blame the devotees. Do it yourself. I'm going to share it, but I have to get one that's, you know, much better written.
I don't know, Maharaj. I don't know. My assertion may be wrong, but when we got donations from for Ivory Coast through GoFundMe, there was no feedback report